Hi, everybody. Welcome back. First of all, I hope this is going to be the last take because I have so flubbed up. And this time it just might be a whole mess of flub ups because I can't even count how many times I've redone this. Anyway, welcome to the Haunted Pineapple. Glad you made it here. Glad you made it through the New Year's Eve safe and sound. I hope you all get everything your hearts desire in this new year. Don't, first of all, don't hate. We're just here. We're not here to try and convince you of anything. We are just here to show you what we found and what we believe. And that's it. We just ask that you don't show hate to anybody here or anywhere else in life. We had enough of that last year, and you know I ain't lying. Quick shout out to one of our team members who is out. She has double pneumonia, so she's at home sick. Hopefully she's at home asleep. Go to bed, Steph. Anyway, she has pneumonia in both lungs, so hopefully she'll get well very soon. I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite content creators. He does reaction videos. It's Mr. Art of Kicks himself, and Kicks is with a Z. If it ain't Z, it ain't he. So if you get a chance, check him out. I'll try to link him below if I remember it. Anyway, again, welcome. If you're a returning customer, glad you're back. Not customer, subscriber. Yeah, I told you it's going to probably be messed up, but we're just going to roll with it, aren't we? Yes, we are. So anyway, if you are returning, I'm so glad you came back. If you are new here, like and subscribe. I think all that stuff is like to the side now. I don't know. If you have any thoughts or comments, write them wherever they go now. And we'll be very happy to hear from you. Okay, going onward. We talked last time. Oh, and that's my New Year's resolution, by the way. I promise it won't be 2 months before I resubmit a video for you guys. Promise. Anyhow, in the last video, I have started this series of my true paranormal events. And it started with the Bell Witch. And that's why I thought maybe I would throw in a little bit of local lore, myth, legend, just to kind of like tide it over or to round things out. Some of my experiences that I'm going to share, I don't ever really know how far into it I'm going to go until I start talking, and I get there. So bear with me. The legends and such are going to come from the state of Wisconsin, and apparently some of these are close by, not too far. Some are north, which more north. And so tonight, I thought before I went into and shared my experience, we would talk about Siren Bridge. And Siren Bridge is located, you guys are smart, Siren, Wisconsin. The story goes that back in the 80s, there was a family of three, a man, a woman, and a small child, were driving back from somewhere, obviously headed home. And they apparently hit a guardrail. And before help could get to them, all three of them perished. I did, for some reason, dig deep into this, and I found out that this actually did happen. It was an accident in March of 1983. If I'm not mistaken, it's March the 3rd. And the first thing of note, there's not a Siren Bridge. Nope. The second thing of note is that the name of the family was the Kringle family. And the husband was like 37. His wife was 34. If you give me a second, I will look and just verify that. The husband was 37. His name was Richard Arlen. The wife's name was Rosemarie. She was 31. And they had their young daughter with them, whose name was Jo D. And she was at the age of 9. Apparently they did have an accident on Highway, sorry guys, Highway 13, County Road B. I looked at so much stuff trying to find which one I was going to go with. This is the one I decided to go with tonight. I've already been looking at 2 other ones to go with subsequential other videos. So they were driving home. They did go off the road on County Road B, and they did perish. The 3 of them died, and the date of their death was March 3rd, 1985. I found out that Richard was in the Navy, and he was in the Navy during the Vietnam War and made it through that. And they were buried and laid to rest in Barnett County. That's where they originally were from, was Barnett County in Siren, Wisconsin. They were laid to rest in Oak Grove Cemetery in Webster, Wisconsin. And that was just basically what I found out. I found it interesting of note that, there's always like a little bit of something of truth in every myth or legend. There's always like a little element of truth. And as I got to looking in this, I was interested to find corroborating evidence of this that happened. Now, Richard was born May the 8th in 1948. Rosemarie was born December the 4th, 1954. And their daughter, Jo D., was born May 5th, 1976. And as I said, they all perished and passed on March the 3rd, 1985. And that was, they say, that if you're driving down the road, of course, the legend says as you pass over the bridge, but we all know now there's no bridge, pass over the bridge, and you can hear as you're driving a little girl's voice coming through the radio, crying for help and crying for her mommy. They say also as you're driving down this highway, you can hear people screaming and yelling for help. Okay, this is something that I think, and if you guys are interested in this, just give me a shout, let me know. I'm thinking about maybe possibly this summer, when the weather is better, giving a drive out and checking out the area and see what if anything we find. And with this channel, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So that was my urban legend and myth that I debunked, I guess, if that's the way you want to look at it. Okay, on to my personal experience. Now, this one is creepy. It does get creepier. And as I said in the first one, a lot of the names I'm going to change because I'm not sure if any of the people that are involved in my stories want it to be known. And a lot of times when this stuff happens, people want to keep it under wraps to keep from being called crazy or, you're full of it or whatnot. So I will be changing everybody's name but mine. So mine will be in here. Okay, so as you know, I have a lady in white. If you don't know the story about the lady in white, check out part 1. I talk about her beginnings, how she shows up, and the whole 9 yards. So I moved away from home, and I, at the time, kind of get some couch surfing, and the person that I opted to stay with, I stayed with her and her husband for just a little bit, and I happened to notice over on the side table in the living room this picture. Now, this picture was drawn with chalk. It was like a chalk drawing, and it looked extremely familiar to me. It was My Lady in White. And I went over to get a closer look, and I reached out to touch it. And I'll call them Bob and Barbara. Bob says, "Don't touch it." So I was like, okay, ooh, But I noticed when I touched it, there was no glass, because he yelled after I touched it. Which I know how some of you guys are out there. Don't touch it, and you're going to go, okay. So anyway, I'd already touched it, and there was no glass in the frame. And there was no chalk on my fingers. Oh, and by the way, yesterday, leaving work, this happened. I have broken the tip of my finger. This is how much it's swollen. And these rings, they're on there for a little while for sure. Anyway, I noticed there was no chalk residue on my fingers. And I asked Barbara later, and she says, he never talks about it. He won't tell me anything about it. It's just don't touch it. If I dust around it, the whole 9 yards. So anyway, because I had caught her alone when I had asked her about it, she says he won't talk to me about it. So it came to pass that before I left their residence for a while, I had asked him about it. And I honestly can't remember if it was the time I was there that particular time, or if it was a time after this. Regardless, it still go on with the story. I ended up being alone with Bob, and I asked him about it. And he said that he has seen her. Okay, if you've seen my previous video, she has talked to me. And I say talked because her lips didn't move. I just heard her in my head. And he said that he went, because I told him I didn't get any chalk on my fingers when I had reached out to touch it before he yelled at me. And, or before his wife yelled at me. And he said he couldn't believe that there was no chalk residue. And he went to go over to the photo, not the photo, the drawing, and he went to try and take it out, like to check it out closer and see what the deal was. He says it's always been in the same place. It's never been moved the whole time he had it. And he says since Paul colored it from Bob's description, that it's always been there. He said he went to take it out, and when he did, he smeared the left side of her face. So he put it back in, and then he turned the picture frame over. Well, he and Barbara had got into a quarrel, a fight, and you know how it is, somebody's got to sleep on the couch. So he said that particular night, he was the one that won the honors of sleeping on the couch. And he said he was laying there, he was sleeping, he had his eyes closed, and he described like a gust, like a fan or something like that, came up over him. And for whatever reason, he opened his eyes. And he said when he opened his eyes, there she was. And she was floating over the top of him. And he said she was like this close to his face. And the left side of her face was smeared. Bob said he covered his face and screamed. And when he pulled it away, pulled the covers and stuff away, she was gone. I never knew what he did with the photo, if he threw it away, if he packed it away, or what. And that was the last time Bob and I, or even Barbara and I, ever spoke about that picture. I find it odd that I couldn't touch it and I didn't get any chalk residue on my fingers. He was terrified. When he told me about it, his face was so white, it was unreal. So time passes on. I surf another couch for a while, and then I met someone. I'm gonna call this someone George, not to protect his innocence, just to be nice. That's another good New Year's rule, whatever. Anyway, so a while passes and I marry, and George and I lived in a little town in Tennessee, and we started noticing, we ended up living in a boarding type house where there were different rooms. We all had to share the hallway bathroom for bathing, for anything that requires a bathroom. And it was, if the door was closed, you're just SOL until somebody comes out. So I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but often when she would start to come around, we would smell that perfume. And I hadn't mentioned it to George at all, because it was one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of things, and it had been a while since I had actually seen her. So all of a sudden, and the little rooms was like a kitchen, dining room, and then the next room was like a bedroom, living room kind of thing. And that's the size and the shape. They were like rectangular. And there was a door outside of both, I guess, both rooms. Outside of our main door to come into the apartment was just a light bulb hanging from a wire or whatever with a pull switch. So the night before, we had come back from his parents, who had lived a little way down the street. So we walked down there, and we were there for a little while. I can't remember when it was. I think it was chilly, so fall, winter, who knows. So we go back, and as soon as we go back, I start smelling the perfume. And I wasn't going to say anything. And George was abusive. So I didn't say anything because I figured, I'll just let it go. And suddenly he catches a whiff of it and asks me if I change cologne, perfume, or whatever. And I says, no. He said, tell me that you smell that. And I said, yes, I smell it. The smell was like lilacs, if I remember correctly, lilacs. And he said, what's going on? And so I told him as much as I felt I could tell him. So we had come in from his parents, and the garbage needed to be taken out. So as we came in, we clicked the light bulb so we could see the door to get into it. So as soon as we got in and we were laying down, now granted, the headboard of our bed hit up against the outside door next to the main door. and I could feel her there, and that's all I could smell was the perfume, her scent. And she never came in, but it seemed like she stayed outside the door. And in just like a matter of minutes or so, her scent faded. So this is kind of man George was. He was an alcoholic. And so he tried to do like mess with my head. Because the next day I smelt it again after we had came back from his parents. And I started smelling it. And so he started messing with my head. And George says, "Oh, well, you know why she's back?" And I said, "Why do you think she's back?" "Because she's jealous. She wants me, and she's wanting to take you away from me." Or wanted him away from me. So she wanted him, is what he was trying to relay. And I was just like, okay, whatever. A lot of times when you're in that kind of relationship, you just kind of like don't say anything, you just let it ride. You're better off that way sometimes. So we were taking the garbage out, and as I said before, there's a light bulb with the click, just a string. And so we get ready. I open up the door, and when I open up the door, the light bulb is off. Okay, so maybe I don't remember turning the light bulb on. So I reached out and clicked it, and it came back on. So at first I'm just kind of like, okay. I closed the door, and I asked George, "Did you turn the light out in the hall? Because we're just getting ready to take out the garbage." He says, "No, I didn't. Why?" And I go, "Well, the light was out in the hall." So here we go. We're going to take out the garbage, and I don't know where really we were going, because we didn't want to show up at his parents' house and say, "Oh, well, we can't stay at our apartment because Teresa has a ghost that's following her around, and she wants me," right? Whatever. So I knew I had turned the light on outside the door. We opened the door to leave, and the light is out again. So he reached out and turned the light on, and it came on. It wasn't the light bulb. It didn't seem to be a short or whatever. So we leave. We lock the door and we leave. And as we're walking down the street away from the apartment, he starts going in more to, "Oh, she wants me. She's trying to get me away from you," and blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, I don't know, whatever. And I turned around and I looked. And when I looked, she was in the window of the bedroom, living room half. And she was looking down at us and watching us as we were walking away. And I grabbed his arm and I said, "Oh my God, she's in the window. She's watching us walk away." And she watched us for a good couple of minutes, leaving the premises and walking down the road. And I could feel, almost like now, I can feel the hair standing up every inch of my body. And I didn't look back again. Although I never, ever, even from this story on, I never felt scared of her. It was just like, ooh, that's kind of weird, because she had never done that before. So I don't think she said anything to me that night, but it seemed like as we were walking away down the street, don't even know where we were going at this point, because I was kind of like freaked slightly. Not gonna lie. I could hear her again in my head, things are going to get bad, but they're going to get better. And I had another, what do I call it, another chapter in my life where things weren't so good. George was very abusive, very manipulative, controlling, a violent alcoholic. So she wasn't lying. From my childhood to this point in my life, she's never lied. He broke my nose. He split my forehead. He would not work. I would come home and there would be a dent in the sofa from where his butt was all day. I would go to work with 104, 105 fever at this time, and he would still be right where I left him. I saw her again, I believe one more time, while George and I were married. It was right after he tried to sneak, I'll say, a lady friend into my apartment. And since I always locked the doors when I left, he was trying to climb up the overhang to get into the window to open it and let her in. So I opened the window for him and asked him what he was doing. And he was surprised that I was there. So anyway, there was a confrontation, and someone had already checked with me and told me they had seen him sitting on some steps in front of another person's house. Okay, blah, 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 blah. No, feel sorry for me. It's just part of the story. So anyway, I was like to the point where you can have him. I don't care. And I didn't at this point. I was done. And so at this point, he actually decided that we should go to, and I'm going to make up a place, we should go to New Mexico and get a new start. Things will change, blah, blah, blah. Only thing that changed was the location. And then from that point, I see her multiple times while we're in New Mexico. So before I close this out, if you are in a situation that is not a safe situation, there are ways out. You are not alone. There are always ways that you can make plans to get out. It's not right. No one, male or female, I don't care if you're a guy, no one has the rights to lay their hands on you. Seek help. Anyway, this is the end of my story tonight. If you like the story, please hit a like. Please hit the subscribe. Oh, this is going to be a good one for New Year's. Let's hope that this is not, they say what you're doing on New Year's is what you're going to be doing the rest of the year. So let's hope I'm not making boo-boos for the whole rest of the year. It's probably a sign for things to come. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I can't believe I'm almost to 100 subscribers. I never thought I'd see 20. So thank you to the ones who have subscribed. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. It makes me very happy. So if you have any ideas of any myths or legends that are in your state, leave me a note. I check my comments. Leave me a note. I'll look it up. I'll check it out. Like this one, I checked it out and found out there were a lot of things missing. A lot of things that were reported weren't true. So anyway, thank you again. Love yourself before you love anyone else. You are enough and you are special. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year.